What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fishing Control. We're doing something a little different today. We're not actually doing any fishing. We're working on stuff to prepare ourselves. This project is going to be building a truck bed rod rack for my 1994 F-150 long bed. I just purchased this not long ago. It's in great running condition, only has 112,000 miles on it. I have some scrap lumber. I'm gonna probably have to pick up a couple pieces as well. Get some PVC pipes and some clamps, but I think I have a pretty good idea. I've seen some pictures online of what I want to build. I'm pretty sure I can build it for just a few bucks. At the end, I'll let you know how much I spent on it and what all the materials were. So we're just gonna go through this so I can make it as quick as I can. So I've started out here by just laying out a couple of 2x4s. These were in a scrap lumber pile in the back. And I've got them lined up along the inside of the wheel well here. So I'm gonna end up marking these. That'll give it a good foot so that the rods won't want to fall over this way, a good heavy foot. So I'm gonna mark these and then we'll cut these. So let me just go ahead and remind everybody that I am in no way a professional. I have done very little carpentry or woodworking. I just kind of am figuring this out as I go. Yeah, very little construction either. I did do some install work, low voltage stuff and whatnot over the years, but so I'm gonna mark these, but just to make sure I get the length of these the same, I'm going to measure that mark. So now that I've got those two pieces measured, I'm gonna need to measure the distance between the inner sides of the rails. So we're gonna go ahead and take that measurement and make that mark on the 2x10 right now. So now we're gonna make that mark on the 2x10 here. Okay, so since I don't have any 2x4s and I'm trying to keep the cost to a minimum, and lumber, I don't know if any of you guys have been buying wood recently, but it is at a premium. So I'm just going to use what I've got. I'm modifying design as I go already. I was just going to build a box here, but I don't have the right wood to do that, so I'm just going to build what I can. I'm going to measure another 2x10. I've got a few of those laying around, and just do a piece flat along the bottom. I think it's actually going to make it so I can store more stuff in here and still use it even when the rod holder is in place. So I'm going to measure that real quick. Get my marks from earlier. Make sure I'm measuring to the same length. I think it's 48 5/16. Yep. Just over 48 1/4. So we're just going to mark it the same on this board. Now I'm just going to use my square and go ahead and mark all these lines. Alright, so now that I've got my boards marked, it's time to cut them. I'm going to make sure that they're very well cleaned off. These were sitting in sand and rain for a good while. I just want to make sure that all or most of the sand is gone from where I'm going to cut, at the very least, because that'll wreck your blade. So this one seems good. I'm going to do the same thing for all of them and just cut my marks. Now let's go see how it all fits together in the bed of the truck. Yep, snug as a bug right there. And end. So this wasn't flat on the other end, was it? So what we're going to do here is shave off about another inch from this board, and that should give us the play we need to get that guy in place. Yeah. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. So if you remember, I've got these scrap pieces from cutting my longboards. So I'm going to make them both the same length as this, cut a 45-degree angle on one end, and then screw them to my longboards at the length, at the position that I want the 2x10 to sit. And that's where the 2x10 is going to sit, is on this. And that'll give it some support anchored to my longboards that give it stability. So we're going to make those measurements and then we'll make those cuts, and yeah. And again, these don't have to be perfect, they just have to be. So that's that. So next up is going to be to figure out where I want my holder to actually rest. So it's going to lean at about 45 degrees. The pipes for the rods are going to sit on the back side of it, so that it doesn't get bumped by gear from this way. And I want to make sure I've got room in front of my box. So right about here actually looks pretty darn good. Yeah, so I'm going to mark, if that looks straight enough, I'm going to mark, yeah, I'm going to mark my board here. And that's going to be close enough for me. Okay, so now that I got these marks made, I'm going to attach these angle cuts to the inside here with the top edge of the angle where that mark is on both sides. Hopefully these don't split the wood. I didn't grab a drill bit to like pre-drill any holes or anything, so okay, now that I've got these angle cuts connected to my longboards, I'm going to connect the 2x10 to the first side and then line up the second side. Now these are pretty wonky, but I'm doing this super quick and it will work for a while, probably a good while. You know, I mean, it's not like I'm putting a ton of weight on these things, it's just a little bit of pressure. So I mean, it's gonna be fine. Let's screw this together. All right, so it's a couple of days later. I had to do some actual work, you know, gotta fund these things. And I called an audible along the way. The 2x10 was maybe too much weight on the angle, on the stress points, so I upgraded to a 2x8. It was just a little bit easier to work with. I don't have like a workshop here or anything, so just trying to hold it and put it together. The 2x8 is going to do just fine. It's going to give me plenty of spread on the clamps, and you'll see. So I've got that on one side. I'm going to start my holes here. I'm going to start my screws here for the cross board that will support the outer rails, and then slide it up, screw the main board on. You'll see. The most important part of this project to remember is that nothing matters. It's entirely fluid. This is all scrap wood. The only part I really want to make sure I get right is when I add the PVC on for the rod holders, because I actually have to go buy that. Okay, so for this last board, I've actually moved to the ground because I'm tired of shearing screws and I want to get a good angle on this. So it's loose in here. This is the last board right here. It's loose in here. I'm just gonna try and keep it in there for support as I stand this up on its end so I can get a good straight angle on this. These are this last board isn't structural, it's stabilizing, so I'm just going with 2.5-inch screws instead of 3-inch. So let's try this. Well, that's not good. It's exactly what I was trying to avoid. That guy did it. So it's actually going to go well, I think, for the rest of this now. I can break this one off, no problem, it's all right. It's not like I'm trying to sell this on Etsy or something. Close enough for rock and roll. Now let's see if I can do this on the other side. So the bad part about these cheap screws is that they're way too soft. They break easily. Things get a little tough. You can't muscle them through. The great part about them is that they're really soft. So when they do break off, or if you have one that strips too short, as long as it's in there, you can smack that dude down and it's not going anywhere. So I was able to flush all those out. Anything that was poking out a little bit, we're good. This isn't a house. I'm not building a permanent structure. I'm building a temporary solution to moving rods to the beach. So it'll be all right. Hey. Hey. So of course we decided to take a break from working on various projects to come on out here to the beach for a minute. Gotta get in a fishing break from time to time. What did she bite?
My finger, really hard.
She's a wild animal, straight up.
It is a wild animal.
I wonder. Huh?
You can't not chew on it.
Did you say you shaved your feet?
And now she's biting my feet.
What?
Now she's biting my feet.
I get that. But why'd you shave them? I wonder.
It's gonna be bath night tonight.
Yes. Post beach bath is a good time.
Maverick, get away.
At least he missed.
She's laying on it.
Yeah.
At least he missed.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened.
Oh my goodness.
Not by much, but that's pretty funny.
Oh, serious. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's definitely a first. We'll be giving that a good rinse. In fact, go get that water bottle. Give that a quick douse. I'm about to have to move them up anyway because of the rising surf. So I gotta rinse it before I grab it. I caught a little fish.
What kind of fish is that?
Let me see. What the heck are you? I'm not really sure what the heck that is.
Here, let's take a picture of it so we can try to identify it later.
Of course not. Finally caught a fish. Not skunked, not a trash fish. A whiting. And we have friends. Look at this thing. I think she would definitely eat it right away. She is not weirded out by it at all. Did you? Another whiting. He bit that so hard. Okay, so we're back. We had a good time at the beach, but we did lose a lot of our time. We had to go to Home Depot anyway because that's where they had what we needed, but that did cost us some time. So we're gonna mark these at about, we did catch some fish though, a couple of whiting, so that's good. Marking these at about 8 inches. I don't really care if they're perfect. Got a few places all the way around it so that I can try and make a straightish cut. That'll do. And then these are 24 inches, 2 feet long, 1.5 inch diameter. So if I cut them all at 8 inches, I should have one left over. Mark them all and cut them all. Okay. Doing it the old-fashioned way. After cutting all my pipes, I went ahead and stuck some pipe clamps on them just to make sure that they'll actually do the trick. I think these will work. And I went ahead and figured out where my first one will work as far as screw placement on both sides as far to the edges as I could, and then measured that and made sure that they're even. Then I measured my whole board, found the center spot on that and marked that, and then found the center spots between the center mark and these marks and marked that. So that'll be where my 5 pipes will go. And now I'm gonna attach those. All right, so after numerous delays, I am back on the project. I've moved it up here to my truck bed again, just to get a little bit better leverage on working on this section here. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this guy up here. I'm gonna mark all my spots where I need my holes drilled, drill my pilot holes, and then attach this guy. And now with my holes drilled, I'm gonna go ahead and mount the first one here, and then you'll see the next little step I'm gonna do. So as you can see, it didn't necessarily sit all the way flush, but they did bend in okay to get it pretty snug on there. I mean, that guy's definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, I'm gonna drill a little hole here at the bottom and put a screw straight through into the wood. And what that's going to do is ensure that this pipe can't slide up and down within these brackets, which I don't think it will anyway, but it's also going to make my rod butt stop at that screw instead of going all the way through to the bed. So if this thing does move around at all, it's not going to damage the butt of my rod. So it's going to stop. And I moved these clamps down. I could have maybe moved this one down a little further, but I put the clamps pretty far down because all the pressure is going to be down here on this part. So I want to make sure that I've got good support for all that weight that's going to be out on these rods. It's not going to be a lot of weight, but that's where the support will want to be. If I want it to last a long time, that's how I want to build the support. So now I just repeat this process 4 more times and we'll be good to go. So now that I've got all these guys installed, I'm going to go ahead and drill my hole straight through and into the wood and put my screw in to hold the rod butt. And with that, she's finished. 5 rods, plenty of room between for reel handles and stuff without tangling, knocking them together. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. Had a couple of screws strip here, but I think it's still got plenty of hold. I don't think I'm gonna have any problems. So let's spin it around and get it in position, load it up with some rods, see how it really looks. All right, so there it is in all its glory. 5 rods rack. I mean, I couldn't have been any happier with how this turned out. My spare tire sits right on that board and has the rubber still touching the floor of the bed of the truck, so it should act as a bit of a grip, help prevent this thing from sliding anywhere. It's already a little heavy, but I can totally load it on my own. It makes the rods, well, hang on, I'll get a measurement. So we're up here at the rod tips. Interesting perspective. So if you look here, just a little over 9 feet. Just under 9.5 feet. I guess you can probably see that. Just under 9.5 feet. So that's actually really good. That's under 10 feet. I think I can still go through most fast food places with this, but I'm not gonna try it. Yeah, I'll definitely make it under bridges, majority of tree limbs, stuff like that. This is way shorter than a box truck. Yeah, so that's really good. So that's gonna do it for this incredibly unorthodox episode of Fishing Control. Make sure to like, leave a comment, tell me how horrible I did and how you would have done this so much better. I would really actually like to hear about it, because this won't be the last rod rack I build for this truck. You know, I'm not a craftsman, so I'm learning, and I already think I can do better than what I built here, and I think this is pretty darn good. It'll certainly work. If you were looking for a way to build a rod rack, I hope this helps you get some ideas. Don't do it the way I did it. I suck at stuff, so, you know. But yeah, like if you liked it, leave a comment, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm gonna be doing a whole bunch more fishing here soon. You know, 2 or 3 days a week right now is what I'm doing. The weather's starting to turn around, so spring's starting to kick in. Things are gonna pick up a bunch in the surf. Yeah, so make sure you're subscribed, hit that notifications bell so you get all the good notifications every time I upload one of these masterpieces. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next trip. So one quick bit I forgot to mention that I promised I would include is how much I spent on materials. So the benefit that I had was that the person who lived here before is a renovator, handyman, does a lot of work. So there was actually a pile of scrap lumber. Now I only used about maybe 40 bucks worth of wood. So, I mean, it would not have been too big of an expense to buy the couple of pieces of wood that I would have needed to do this project. So the next expenses were the PVC pipe, the clamps, and the screws. So the PVC pipes were 3 and change a piece, so we'll call that $7. I spent 3-ish bucks on screws, so we'll call that 10. And clamps were about $10. So $22 I spent to build this. Had I spent money on the lumber as well, it would have been about, I'll say, somewhere between $50 and $75. Lumber is pretty expensive right now. It's not normally as expensive as this. It normally would cost me 40 or 50 bucks to build this thing, but 50 to 75 range, I'd say, which is pretty good considering pretty much any store-bought option is going to be $300, $400. I think I saw a couple of really cheap, terrible looking things for a couple $100. So overall, I'm incredibly happy with it. I've already, since I shot that video, I've already used it to go to the beach once, and you'll see that video coming out next. And it worked terrific. Can't be any happier. So again, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, leave a comment, tell me I'm awesome or that I'm terrible or whatever you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next trip.